Hi, Marc.
Hi, Nathalie.
This is a great pleasure to meet you here in Saint-Germain-des-Prés.
Great pleasure shared.
So we spent years here. So you graduated in 1969, if I
yes,
remember.
half a century ago. Can you believe that?
2005 for me, after having the great chance to follow your finance course. Marc, of course, we will discuss about your application to the boards of directors of Alumni Sciences Po. But first, I would like to introduce you to all those who didn't have the chance to meet you at Sciences Po. So, of course, you correct me if I'm wrong.
I will do that.
So after a doctorate in management at the University of Bordeaux, you obtained the aggregation in the same specialty in 1981. You also graduated from the Northwest University in Chicago, MBA and PhD in finance. So your field is therefore finance. You've taught finance for 45 years. So in University of Bordeaux, in Sciences Po, but also in the greatest university of the world, Oxford, Harvard, HEC, INSEAD. You are also an independent director in a dozen of companies, ranging from the startup to the multinationals in Europe, Asia, United States. You travel a lot. But this is in Po that you've made your home.
Right.
So, Marc, your career is very impressive. Your commitment is untired in the field of education and business. So tell us, where do you get all this energy?
Nathalie, thank you for this description, which is probably very much full of praise, and I appreciate it and I take it. I think we are a number of people who have worked very hard in society, whether in the public sector or in the private sector or in the associations, to improve things. But I have to say that I have been very lucky to become a professor. I think teaching is probably the best job that I could think of, and I see sometimes that if I had to redo my life, I'll redo exactly the same. Why it is so interesting to be teaching? Because you have always to make sure that you are relevant, that you are up to date. You receive as much as you give. You receive for the people, whatever the age, young people or older people, you receive a lot from them. And you create a fantastic network of people. And in order to do well this job, I say sometimes you need the 3E, energy, enthusiasm, and empathy. If you don't have that, I think you should do something else than teaching. So I think without energy, without enthusiasm, without loving people, you don't do a good job in teaching.
So, you are very involved in the relationship with the alumni, with your students all around the world. You are familiar with all the associations of alumni. What are your views on the new issues of these associations?
I think the alumni, as the Anglo-Saxon call it, from this Latin word alumnus, I think the alumni are the ambassador of any institutions. They are the pillars of any institution. Without strong alumni, I don't believe that you can become a strong education institution. And therefore, we need to revive this community of alumni. And we need to go beyond the pure being together, remembering the good time when we were at school. And we have really to transform progressively the association into a kind of service society, service company, providing service, diversified service, depending on the age and the type of training that the people have, depending on when they want to do it, training in new field, helping them in their career. I mean, there is plenty of opportunities. When I was at Sciences Po, as you say, half a century ago, as you remembered, there was only one program, 3 years in Paris. Today, they have several programs, you know, very diversified portfolio of product, of services, of training programs in different parts of France, not only in Paris. So it is leading to much difficult issues, in particular recruiting, in particular answering the expectation of these people. So this is another word.
So you talk about services, but this is also the question of the membership fee, don't you think?
Yes, membership fee is an issue in all associations. I think it raises two main problems. The first one is the amount, and the second one is the periodicity. You know, the amount. I think today we might like it or not, but in the word you pay for something, you pay for services. So I think people are paying a membership fee if they believe that they are going to receive a service or services. What we were saying before. Should it be a payment every year, membership fee every year, or should it be a life membership, like some big universities have done? I mean, if you look at the US, Harvard, Yale,
HEC also.
HEC in France, Cambridge in the UK, have developed life membership. It's not the place here to discuss what is the best, but it is surely a debate that the board should have to decide which kind of membership is optimal, which one we should choose.
Well, Marc, you are now running for a seat in the board of directors of Alumni Sciences Po. What motivated this decision?
You can believe me, Nathalie, it has been a long process of decision making. I think it is based on two elements. The first one is the fact that I have reduced in the last few months my activity very significantly, and therefore I have time. I'm available to do things. Experience is great, but experience without time is nothing. So today, in addition to my experience, I have some times that I can devote to the association. I think it would not have been fair for me to run for election a few years ago when my agenda was overbooked and I was traveling all over the world. So timing is a great thing. The second thing is that, and we discussed that before this interview, there is a very urgent need of change. The lack of interest of alumni for the association is increasing. We are not going to discuss too much figures, but figures, by the way, were very difficult to get from the existing board. It was very vague, unprecise,
confusing,
and sometimes very conflicting measure. But if we realize that only 7% of the alumni are member of the association, if we realize that looking at the frequency of vote in the last election, 1% of the alumni are really voting, I think this shows that there is a problem. If you realize also that in the last 10 years, the association have lost 1,500 members, 1,500 members, and almost 700 in the last year. I think 660 to be precise. So there is a huge problem. The association is really losing energy, losing people, and therefore I think it's time to get a new thinking, and new ideas, and new blood.
Marc, you stand alone in these elections, again a list of candidates which aims to support Pascal Perrineau, and which includes finally a half of the candidates, 25 seats.
24, I think.
24, you're right, to the board. Doesn't it look like more a takeover bid than a real election?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think, governance is a set of rules, a set of codes that anybody should respect. And I am really concerned and disappointed that this election has been presented as a list and not as an individual vote. I have never seen a board where you present a list. It is not a political election, it's a board election. So it is an individual election. The voters have to choose every individual, the 24 who are going to run this board. And I feel ashamed that at some point of time we have represented it as a list, vote for a list and not for individual. I think it's not at the level of our school, and I regret it.
Let's turn now to the basics. What are the main directions you will defend on the board if you are elected?
I like very much, Nathalie, your word direction, because it is what it is. I'm not going to present a program. I mean, a candidate to a board never present a program. The program is decided by these 24 people who are going to be elected and then executed by these people. The only thing that we can give at that stage are directions. In which direction we want the association to go. And as far as I'm concerned, there are two big directions. One is modernization, and the other one is internationalization. Modernization, I think, you understand what I mean. I mean, the classical, traditional way the association is run is today, in my mind, obsolete. When you have meetings, when you have debates, when you have breakfast or meeting or things like that, done in Paris, well, we have a lot of people outside Paris or outside France. I think it's not at the level of a modern association. Today, with the technology that we have, the podcast, the webcast, the webinars, the MOOC, I mean, all these things and many others, we have the ability to contact everybody all over the country and all over the world. And I think this has not been done, and I think it has to be implemented, and it has to be modernized. And by the way, I can understand. You said earlier that I live in Pau now, which is in the southwest of France. I understand completely the frustration of alumni living outside Paris who see things happening in Paris, and you cannot come for a breakfast. Or I think we need to have much more opportunities outside Paris.
When we talk about modernization, we also talk about social networks. Social networks are often accused of being the only cause of the decline of those alumni associations. Is not this approach a little bit easy and reductive?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think presenting the social networks as the reason for the decline of association is too easy. Instead of crying and regretting the role of social network, we should make them our friends, our help, and you should try to find synergies between the association and the social network. I can tell you that I've been discussing a lot in the last few weeks with other associations. Not all of them are declining like Sciences Po. Some are even improving in terms of membership, and the ones who are improving are the ones who are using smartly, in a very efficient way, the social networks. And instead of fighting with them, they use them for the directories, for services, for many things. And I think it is what we should do. We should help training some members to this social network, all people like me, who need a little bit of training in this social network. We should also create some new professional communities online, and we should revive some existing communities. So it is a lot of work to be done in that respect.
So modernization as a first component, internationalization as a second one. Can you tell us more?
Yes, as you told me at the beginning, I've been traveling a lot. I've been living in different countries. I've been living in England. I've been living mostly in the US for several years. And I can tell you that the role and the impact of the Sciences Po Association of Alumni outside France is peanuts, as we say in America. It's very low. So I really think that we have to re-energize the international network. We have to initiate some agreements with association of some prestigious universities all over the world. And we have to do everything to make the name of Sciences Po very well known and very admired all over the world. But for that, you need a good network. And I think, I don't want to look like not being modest, but I think I have this network, in particular in the US.
Marc, do you think that many initiatives should have been taken in the recent past years and that they have not been decided by the previous board?
You see, you know, Natalie, I don't want to enter into this fight, you know, like in classic politics by saying, you know, the former team didn't do anything, they are bad, they're terrible. No, I think we have to recognize that some things have been done, and I will really give credit to Pascal Perrineau and his team who have done things for the association in the last few years. But at the end of the day, what is important? What is important is
Figures.
the figures, exactly. And the figures are terrible. 93% of the alumni are not member of the association. 1% are voting. I mean, all these figures, 700s were lost in the last year only. So I think we really have to do something about it. And as a matter of fact, I will try to persuade the board, if I'm elected, to design a big consulting of all the alumni to ask them what do they want from the association, what type of service, I mean, to know better their expectations. I think, and this study, by the way, has to be renewed every, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, to really fit with, I mean, marketing, we say to fit with your market, to fit with your members and to know what are their expectations. I think it's essential.
We are coming to the end of our interview. Marc, I leave you the conclusion.
As you know, I've said several times, Sciences Po is something special for me. You know, I've been very close to Sciences Po as I was a student, as I was teaching there. I think Sciences Po, and I really use the word that I believe, is a kind of unique school, and a school which has been able to reinvent itself in the last few years. I think it's important to know. I was telling you that when I was a student half a century ago, that there was only one program in Paris. Today you have several programs, specialist masters, and in different degrees, not only in Paris but in some different places in France. So the school has been able to really improve itself and reinvent itself. And I think the association should do the same. The association should reinvent itself, should make sure that they fit with the new way of the school, that they adopt the new technologies. And today, we have said several times, the association is weak. So the association needs a board which would be very committed, which would be very, of course, competent, skilled, diversified in its background, and innovative. And I want to thank all the alumni who are going to support me. I can tell them right now that I will do everything possible to really work hard to improve the association of this school that we all love very, very much.
Sure. Marc, thank you very much for your time and all those very interesting exchanges. I remind that you have created a site for this campaign where everyone can find all the information. So the board will sit for the 3 next years. The vote will close on the 20th of September by mail, and on the 27th of September on the spot.
In the very famous Rue Saint-Guillaume.
Yes. So, Marc, I wish you a very good luck. I'm very pleased to meet you today, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Nathalie. It was a pleasure, and hope to see you very soon.
A great pleasure.